I never thought I'd be the person telling others about technology. At 78, I was still asking my grandkids to program my VCR long after everyone else had switched to streaming. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's what I told myself whenever something with a screen or buttons appeared in my life. The thought of living in one of those smart homes my son kept talking about. Absolutely terrifying. But here I am today, speaking to you from my smart home that I control myself. No grandkids required. And you know what? It's given me back something I thought I was losing forever. My independence. It started with a fall. Nothing dramatic, just a simple trip over a rug in the middle of the night while trying to find the bathroom light switch. But at my age, even a small fall can be serious. I spent 3 days in the hospital with a fractured wrist, and that's when my children started having the talk. You know, the one about whether I could still safely live alone in my 2-story home of 42 years. I've always been stubborn. My late husband Harold used to say it was my best and worst quality all at once. The thought of leaving my home, my garden, my independence. It wasn't an option I was willing to consider. But I also couldn't ignore the worry in my daughter's eyes when she picked me up from the hospital. "Mom," she said, "we need to find a way to make your home safer for you." I was preparing for an argument about assisted living facilities when my son chimed in with something unexpected. "What about making your house smarter instead?" I laughed out loud. Me, the woman who still wrote checks at the grocery store and couldn't figure out how to silence her flip phone during church. Living in some kind of spaceship home. Ridiculous. "Just hear me out," he said. Smart home technology isn't just for tech enthusiasts anymore. It's for people who want to stay independent longer. Those last 4 words caught my attention. Independent. Longer. Isn't that what we all want? The first device my son brought over was something called an Echo Dot. A small, round speaker that he said would be the center of my new smart home system. "You just talk to it, Mom." Her name is Alexa. I stared at this little hockey puck on my kitchen counter with deep suspicion. Talk to it. Like it was a person. I felt foolish, but my son insisted. "Alexa, what time is it?" he demonstrated. When this little device answered in a pleasant female voice, I nearly jumped out of my skin. It felt like magic. Or something from those science fiction shows Harold used to watch. For the first week, I mostly ignored Alexa. Occasionally, when no one was around, I'd whisper a question about the weather, half expecting no response. But she always answered, patient and consistent. My breakthrough moment came one evening when I was cooking dinner and realized I'd forgotten to write down a recipe measurement. My hands were covered in flour, the phone was in the other room, and I remembered what my son had said. "Just ask Alexa. Alexa, how many tablespoons are in a quarter cup?" "There are 4 tablespoons in a quarter cup," she responded instantly. I stood there, flour-covered hands frozen in midair, with the strangest feeling washing over me. It was empowerment. I had solved a problem without having to call anyone or struggle. Just by using my voice. That night, I made a list of questions to ask Alexa. The next morning, I woke up and said, "Alexa, what's the weather today?" By the end of the week, I was asking her to play my favorite Frank Sinatra songs and set timers for my tea. The fear was melting away, replaced by curiosity. What else could this technology do for me? Remember that fall I mentioned? The one. That started this whole journey. My son suggested that smart lighting could could help prevent another accident. Imagine if your hallway lights turned on automatically when you got out of bed at night, he explained. No more fumbling for light switches in the dark. I was skeptical but intrigued. He installed motion sensors in my hallway and bathroom and connected them to new smart bulbs that could be controlled by Alexa or triggered by movement. The first night, I got up around 2 a.m. for my usual bathroom trip. As soon as my feet hit the floor, a gentle, warm light illuminated the path from my bedroom to the bathroom. No harsh brightness to shock my system, just enough light to see clearly and safely. It was magical. I felt like royalty, with lights that responded to my presence. But the real test came a few weeks later during a power outage in our neighborhood. In the past, power outages meant sitting in the dark, afraid to move around with just a flashlight. This time, my emergency smart lights with battery backup stayed on. I sat in my partially lit living room, reading a book while the rest of the street was dark. My neighbor Edith called me the next day, amazed that I'd managed so well on my own. I was worried about you, she said. I almost called your daughter. No need, I told her proudly. My smart home took care of me. That's when I realized this technology wasn't just about convenience. It was about safety, independence, peace of mind. Not just for me, but for my children too. As I grew more comfortable with my smart lights and Alexa, my son suggested the next addition, a smart doorbell with a camera. Initially, I resisted. I don't need to see who's at my door before I open it, I argued. I've been answering my door the same way for 50 years, but my neighborhood had changed. I no longer knew every person who might knock on my door, and I'd heard stories from friends about scammers targeting seniors. The installation was simpler than I expected. A small camera doorbell replaced my old one, connected to my Wi-Fi, and suddenly I could see visitors on my tablet before opening the door. The first time it proved its worth was when a man in a utility vest came knocking, claiming he needed to check my water meter inside the house. Something seemed off, so I asked through the doorbell speaker to see his ID badge. He mumbled an excuse and quickly left. Later that day, a community alert went out about utility scammers in the area. I showed the video to the local police officer who followed up. Mrs. Wilson, he said, your smart doorbell probably saved you from being robbed. My daughter called that evening, and I proudly told her the story. The relief in her voice was palpable. Mom, that's amazing. I worry about you less knowing you have these safeguards. That's when it hit me. My smart home wasn't making me dependent on technology. It was giving me tools to maintain my independence safely. There's a big difference. Let's be honest about something that many of us seniors struggle with, remembering to take our medications on schedule. I take 6 different pills at various times throughout the day, and keeping track was becoming increasingly difficult. My daughter would call every evening. Mom, did you take your heart medication today? Sometimes I had. Sometimes I hadn't. Sometimes I couldn't remember if I had or not, which was perhaps the most frightening. My smart home journey expanded to include a medication reminder system. My son set up recurring Alexa reminders for each medication time. At 8 a.m. every morning, Alexa announces, time to take your morning medications, including your blood pressure pill. But we went a step further. My son installed a simple button near my pill organizer. When I take my medication, I press the button, and it logs that I've completed that task. If I don't press it within 30 minutes of the reminder, a gentle alert goes to my daughter's phone. She's only had to call me about missed medications twice in 6 months. A dramatic improvement. "It's not about monitoring you, Mom," my daughter explained. "It's about giving you the tools to manage independently, with just a little backup for peace of mind." I realized something important. Accepting help through technology wasn't surrendering my independence. It was strengthening it. One of the hardest parts of aging is the increasing isolation. Friends move away to be closer to their children. Some pass on. Mobility challenges make social gatherings more difficult. Before my smart home transformation, my social interaction had dwindled to weekly church, monthly book club, and calls from my children. The pandemic only made this isolation worse. "Mom, let me show you how to use video calling on your Echo Show," my son suggested one day, referring to the Alexa device with a screen that now sat on my kitchen counter. I resisted initially. "I don't need to see people when I talk to them," I insisted. "The phone works just fine." But after he set up a video call with my 5-year-old granddaughter in Colorado, I was converted. Seeing her little face light up, watching her show me her drawings and new dance moves, it was like having her in the room with me. "Grandma, can we have cookie baking time on the screen?" she asked. The following weekend, we propped up our respective devices in our kitchens and baked cookies together, despite being 1,200 miles apart. Soon, I was having weekly video coffee dates with my sister in Florida, attending my book club virtually when my arthritis was acting up, and even participating in a chair yoga class from my living room. My world, which had been shrinking year by year, suddenly expanded again. "You know what's funny?" I told my son one day. "I thought technology was for young people. But maybe it's actually most valuable for people like me." As I became more comfortable with my smart home, I discovered benefits I never anticipated. My arthritis makes turning lamp switches and thermostat dials painful some days. Now, a simple voice command adjusts my home temperature or turns on lights. "Alexa, I'm cold," I can say, and the temperature adjusts 2 degrees. My energy bills decreased because lights automatically turn off when rooms are empty, and my smart thermostat adjusts when I'm asleep or away. The robot vacuum my children got me for Christmas means I no longer struggle with the heavy upright vacuum on my arthritic days. I simply say, "Alexa, ask Roomba to clean the living room," and off it goes while I put my feet up with a cup of tea. Perhaps most surprising was the cognitive benefit. Learning new technology kept my mind active and engaged. I found myself reading technology blogs, joining an online forum for senior tech enthusiasts, and even helping my 80-year-old neighbor set up her own Echo Dot. My doctor noticed the change during my annual checkup. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up," she said. "Your cognitive assessments show improvement over last year, which is unusual and wonderful to see." I smiled and told her about my smart home journey. "That makes perfect sense," she nodded. Learning new skills creates new neural pathways. Plus, the reduced anxiety about safety and medication management likely contributes to your improved scores. I left her office standing a little taller. Technology wasn't aging me. It was helping me age better. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. This journey hasn't been without frustrations and setbacks. There were tears of frustration when the Wi-Fi went out, and my smart home temporarily became just a regular home again. There was the time I accidentally ordered 12 cans of soup through Alexa because I didn't realize the shopping list feature was connected to automatic ordering. And yes, there was the night when a software update changed how my bedroom lights worked, and I spent 20 minutes talking increasingly firmly to Alexa while sitting in the dark. Alexa, turn on the bedroom light. Alexa, bedroom light on. Alexa, for heaven's sake, turn on the light. My son had to walk me through a reset over the phone the next morning. There's also the cost consideration. While some smart home basics are surprisingly affordable, creating a comprehensive system requires investment. My children helped cover the costs as birthday and Christmas gifts over 2 years, but not everyone has that option. And let's acknowledge the privacy concerns. Yes, there are devices in my home listening for command words. I've made peace with this trade-off for the safety and independence these systems provide, but it's a personal decision each of us must make for ourselves. Despite these challenges, I've found the benefits far outweigh the occasional frustrations. The key is starting small, being patient with yourself, and remembering that perfect is the enemy of good. My smart home isn't perfect, but it's perfectly helpful for my needs. Something unexpected happened as my smart home journey progressed. I became an ambassador of sorts among my peers. It started with my bridge club. Margaret noticed the smart display on my counter showing family photos and asked about it. Before long, I was giving impromptu demonstrations of my smart home features to 5 curious women in their 70s and 80s. You mean to tell me you haven't touched a light switch in 6 months? Edith asked incredulously. And your children can drop in to check on you without you having to answer the phone, added Ruth. By the end of the afternoon, 3 of them had asked for my son's contact information. Word spread through my retirement community. I found myself hosting small tech teas, where neighbors would bring their questions and concerns about smart technology. I was no expert, but I could share my experience and show them that if I could learn this, they certainly could too. I never thought I'd be teaching technology to anyone, I admitted to my daughter. I'm still learning. Myself, that's exactly why you're the perfect teacher, Mom, she replied. You speak their language. You understand their concerns because they were your concerns too. The senior center director eventually asked if I would consider leading a monthly, smart aging discussion group. Me, the woman who used to call her grandchildren when the TV remote wasn't working. There's something powerful about seeing someone like yourself succeed at something you thought impossible. I wasn't just changing my own life with technology. I was showing others what was possible for them too. And that might be the most rewarding part of this entire journey. As I approach my 80th birthday, I find myself thinking differently about aging and technology. For years, I saw new technology as something that was leaving me behind, a marker of my increasing irrelevance in a rapidly changing world. Now I see it differently. Technology isn't leaving me behind. It's giving me tools to keep up, to stay independent, to remain connected. I recently read about upcoming advances in smart home technology specifically designed for aging adults. Floors that can detect falls, refrigerators that can monitor nutrition, medication dispensers with biometric verification. Rather than feeling intimidated, I felt excited. What do you think about upgrading your system next year? My son asked recently. There are some new features that might be helpful as you get older. I surprised both of us with my answer. I was actually reading about those online last week. I've already made a list of what I think might work best for me. The look of astonishment on his face was priceless. Mom, he said slowly, do you realize how far you've come? 2 years ago, you were afraid of your microwaves programming buttons. We both laughed, but he was right. Something fundamental had shifted in my relationship with technology. I no longer approached new devices with fear, assuming I wouldn't understand them. I approached them with curiosity, wondering how they might enhance my life. Age hasn't made me less capable of learning. It's given me more wisdom about what's worth learning and maintaining my independence. That's definitely worth learning something new. So here I am, a 78-year-old grandmother, speaking to you from my smart home that I set up with my family's help, but that I operate independently every day. The woman who once declared she was too old for all this technology nonsense now has friends calling for tech advice. If there's one message I want to leave you with, it's this. It's never too late to embrace tools that enhance your independence. Technology doesn't have to be intimidating. It can be liberating. Start small. Be patient with yourself. Find a supportive person to help you through the initial setup. And remember that every new skill takes time to become comfortable. For those of you helping older parents or grandparents consider smart home technology, approach it as a collaboration, not a solution you're imposing. Ask what challenges they face daily and how technology might address those specific needs. Respect their concerns about privacy and complexity, but gently challenge their assumptions about what they're capable of learning. The goal isn't to create the most technologically advanced home. The goal is independence, safety, connection, and quality of life. I still love my garden, my paperback books, and writing letters by hand. Technology hasn't replaced the traditional parts of my life that I value. It's simply removed obstacles and added new dimensions. If I can do this at 78, just imagine what's possible for you or your loved ones. Thank you for listening to my story. If you're interested in learning more about smart home options for independent senior living, I've included some resources in the description below. And I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. This is Margaret Wilson, signing off from my smart home, where this old dog is still learning new tricks and loving every minute of it.